Welcome to Managing the Future, the MIS podcast. Today, we're really diving deep into Module 30, Emerging Technologies 2025. This is going to be crucial stuff for where business is headed.
Absolutely. And this deep dive is specifically for you listeners, especially college students and, future business professionals. We're thinking particularly of folks at Dr. Sampak College of Business.
Right. Our goal here is really to help you get a solid handle on the key ideas for management information systems. We want to break down these sometimes complex topics, make them understandable, engaging even, insights you can actually use in your studies and your careers down the road.
Exactly. And, the source material we're drawing from Tedmon and Wilhelm's Connect Master, Management Information Systems, really highlights just how fast technology is moving, things we call emerging today. They can become just normal, everyday tech way faster than you might think.
It really is kind of mind-bending, stuff that felt like pure science fiction not that long ago. Star Trek, Minority Report. It's moving out of the lab and into, well, our lives. We're talking tech that can spot illnesses without even touching you. Cars driving themselves. Loads more. It's not just cool gadgets. It's like a fundamental shift.
It really is.
So as we dig into this, if anything sparks an idea or a question, please do like, subscribe, follow, share, comment. We want you to stay updated and, join the conversation. Okay, let's get started.
Right. Let's maybe kick things off with health. It's one of those areas where the impact is just so personal, so profound. Imagine a future where, illness gets flagged before you even feel sick.
Yeah.
Or treatments are perfectly tailored to your body. And getting care isn't about where you happen to live. These emerging techs are making that stuff real, changing medicine from the ground up.
That's a huge promise. And looking at diagnostics first, the advances are pretty incredible. Like machine learning. It's predicting diseases like Alzheimer's now with, 71% accuracy?
Yeah, something like that. Much better than the tests we have now.
Which, from a business angle, means if you can diagnose earlier, you can manage treatment better, maybe cut long-term costs, improve lives. It's a big deal.
And it's not just early detection, it's also about handling the sheer volume of work. Think about radiologists looking at scans all day.
Right.
AI platforms like Zebra MedVision, they're helping out. Automatically spotting potential issues in CT scans, brain, lung, liver, all sorts, or finding dozens of conditions in x-rays, even spotting breast cancer signs in mammograms. It helps speed things up, makes diagnosis potentially more accurate, big impact on hospital efficiency.
And what about tracking health day to day? I read about this stretchable skin idea.
Oh yeah, the fiber optic sensors, low-cost LEDs, dyes. Basically creating this flexible material that can sense tiny changes, bending, pressure, strain.
So you could wear it, like a continuous health monitor.
Potentially, yeah. Imagine wearables giving constant, non-invasive health data. That opens up entirely new markets for health tech companies, right? A whole new stream of products and services.
Okay, so that's diagnostics. What about actual treatment and patient care?
Well, that's moving fast, too. MIT engineers, for example, they're using 3D printing to make custom robotic hearts.
Custom robotic hearts?
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah. They take a scan of a patient's heart, make an exact replica, and then print it with this special polymer ink that can actually stretch and squeeze, like a real heart muscle.
Wow. So that could be used for, testing treatments or planning surgery?
Exactly. Highly personalized medical devices, better surgical planning. And speaking of mimicking biology, there's the organ on a chip, OOC.
Right, I've heard of that. It's like a tiny simulation of an organ.
Sort of. It mimics how cells function, how they react to things, all on a small device. You get real-time results. For drug companies, this is huge.
How so?
It cuts costs, massively cuts down study time, and means less need for animal or human testing early on. So new drugs get to market faster. Big implications for pharma R&D.
Okay, and then there's CRISPR gene editing. That sounds almost sci-fi, too.
It kind of is, but it's real. It uses the immune systems of bacteria, actually, to make incredibly precise edits to individual genes.
So you can, fix faulty genes?
That's the potential. Replicating human gene functions for testing, maybe even countering diseases like HIV, cancer, Huntington's. It's a powerful tool. For biotech, it's not just a tool, it's foundational. Creating totally new ways to develop therapies, big investment area.
Absolutely reshapes biosciences. And finding new drugs is getting faster, too, with AI.
Yeah, AI is crunching through massive databases of molecules, looking for new drug-like compounds, even stuff derived from, like, all known atoms in the solar system. It's wild.
So not just finding existing stuff faster, but discovering totally new possibilities.
Exactly. It could radically shift R&D costs and timelines. Again, huge for the pharmaceutical industry's whole competitive landscape. And on a different track, for managing things like pain, there's VR.
Virtual reality for pain. Does that actually work?
Well, research is showing that patients using VR reported similar levels of pain, anxiety, and blood pressure compared to traditional methods, which is surprising, right?
Yeah, you'd think drugs would be way more effective.
It suggests there might be new non-drug approaches to pain management that could change insurance coverage, hospital protocols, lots of knock-on effects.
Okay, and robotics and AI are showing up more in actually delivering care too, right?
Definitely. Like Intel's robot, Violet. It uses UV light for disinfection, helping hospitals with hygiene, especially after something like COVID really highlighted those challenges. It's about operational safety.
And beyond cleaning.
We're seeing robotic systems that let doctors do routine checkups remotely, access patient records, have a look.
So like telemedicine, but with a physical robot presence.
Kind of. It could cut costs, make healthcare more available, especially in remote areas. But, you know, companies need to balance that efficiency with keeping the personal touch.
Yeah, that's a tricky balance. And then nanorobots. That sounds really futuristic.
Tiny machines, nanometer scale. The idea is they could circulate in your body, detect disease, maybe repair cells, deliver medicine precisely where it's needed, even monitor things constantly and send data to the cloud.
Continuous internal monitoring. Wow. That's proactive health management on a whole new level. New service models there, for sure.
So connecting all this, 5G networks are becoming crucial, enabling things like remote surgery. Surgeons in China are already using robotic systems over distance.
Remote surgery. So a specialist in one city could operate on someone hundreds of miles away.
That's the idea. Expands access to top specialists massively. And even for less complex interactions, AI chatbots are helping out.
Like for answering patient questions or scheduling?
Yeah, acting as conversational partners for patients and clinicians, making care more available, accessible, consistent. They can't fully replace a human doctor's judgment, obviously, but they handle a lot, freeing up people.
Which leads into virtual healthcare assistants, VHAs.
Right. AI tools helping patients and pros with information access, scheduling, monitoring, health education, personalized interactions, remote data sharing. Again, automating routine stuff, making the system more efficient.
And you mentioned COVID that really pushed the Internet of Medical Things, IOMT.
It really did. That specialized IoT was key for self-quarantining support, remote screening, integrating electronic health records, powering telemedicine. For businesses, this whole area, remote monitoring, digital health platforms, data management, it's exploding.
So yeah, for you listeners heading into business, healthcare is being completely transformed. It's not just about the medicine itself. It's new business models, new companies, totally new ways of delivering value in this massive global sector. You've got to pay attention.
Okay, so from how we heal, let's shift gears. Let's talk about how we move stuff ourselves, goods. Technology is shaking up commerce and logistics, too.
Right, like our cars. They're becoming connected vehicles, V2X, vehicle to everything.
Exactly. Not just GPS anymore. Cars talking to other cars, talking to traffic lights, infrastructure, using tech like LiDAR, cellular connections.
What are the business angles there? Fleet management, maybe?
Yeah, improving safety, efficiency, but also big challenges around cybersecurity for all those connected vehicles, data privacy, too.
And for moving goods, self-driving trucks are a big topic.
Especially for long-haul highway routes, they use LiDAR, that's the laser pulsing tech, to see the road. An onboard computer processes it, and then a drive-by-wire system handles the actual brakes, throttle, steering.
The promise there is cost savings for logistics companies, right? Less labor, maybe better fuel efficiency.
That's the hope. Plus, potentially improve safety on highways. Big potential disruption for the freight industry.
And in cities, what about traffic jams? Anything helping there?
Intelligent intersections are starting to appear. They use that vehicle to everything. C2X, tech, plus smart traffic lights. They also have sensors, LiDAR, radar, cameras right at the intersection.
To see pedestrians and cyclists, too.
Yeah. Identify all road users and optimize the traffic flow. Ease congestion, make cities run smoother. Impacts everything from delivery times to your daily commute.
Okay. Shifting to how we actually buy things. Facial recognition for payments.
Yeah, paying with your face, basically. Uses biometric data stored securely, matched with a liveness test, so you can't just hold up a photo.
Convenient, for
Yep.
sure. But retailers need to be super careful with that biometric data, right? Security, privacy. That's huge for customer trust.
Absolutely critical. Then there's this really powerful concept for optimizing how things work. Digital twins.
Digital twins, like a virtual copy of a machine.
Exactly. A dynamic software model of a piece of equipment mimics its materials, parts, how it behaves. Sensors on the real thing feed data to the cloud model.
And the digital twin learns from that data.
Continuously. It can spot potential problems before they happen, suggest improvements for the physical machine. It's becoming key for predictive maintenance, virtual prototyping.
You can model a whole factory like that.
Or even a whole supply chain. Simulate changes, test scenarios virtually, cuts R&D costs, gets products out faster, reduces risk on big investments. It's really powerful.
And robots are getting smarter, too. Adaptive robots.
Yeah, companies like Flexif Robotics are building robots with advanced sensors, force feedback. They can act more like a human arm, aware of their surroundings, safe to work alongside people.
But still precise like industrial robots.
Exactly. Best of both worlds. Opens up automation possibilities in places where it was too tricky or unsafe before. Game changer for manufacturing and logistics.
Okay, here's one that sounds a bit different. The Internet of Behaviors, IOB.
It's an extension of IoT, the Internet of Things, but it focuses on collecting and analyzing data about us. What we do online, where we go via GPS, social media activity, data from our smart devices.
To understand why we do things, our habits, preferences.
Yeah, understand and predict behavior. And the ultimate goal often is to influence specific behaviors.
Influence behaviors.
Yep.
Okay, that sounds potentially useful for marketing, but also raises some ethical flags.
Definitely. Huge insights for businesses, targeted ads, product development, customer engagement. But yeah, navigating the ethics, being transparent with consumers, that's absolutely crucial.
So again, for you listeners, these innovations in commerce, logistics, retail, they directly impact how you'll shop, how you'll get around, how businesses will operate. Understanding these trends is vital, no matter your specific business field.
All right, let's zoom out a bit further. Think about the wider societal impacts, how we learn, privacy, even art creation.
Okay, like in education, adaptive learning.
Right. Traditional learning, everyone gets the same stuff, can be boring for quick learners, overwhelming for others. Adaptive learning uses tech questions, algorithms to tailor the experience to each student.
So it adjusts the difficulty and content based on how you're doing.
Exactly. More efficient, more personalized, better results for students, a more skilled workforce, big benefits for universities, corporate training, anywhere learning happens.
And on the flip side of data, privacy, differential privacy. What's that about?
It's a technique to analyze large data sets for trends without revealing anything about any single individual in that data set.
How does that work?
Essentially, you add a tiny bit of calculated statistical noise to the data. Not enough to mess up the overall patterns, but enough to make it mathematically impossible to link any data point back to a specific person.
Okay. So organizations like the Census Bureau or even tech companies like Apple and Facebook can use it to get insights from data while protecting individual privacy.
Precisely. It's a really important tool in the age of big data, allows for analysis while maintaining privacy safeguards.
Interesting. Okay, what about public safety? Predictive policing. That sounds controversial.
It can be. It uses machine learning, IT, location data, intervention models to try and identify patterns where crime might be more likely to occur. The goal is to be more proactive, allocate resources effectively, hopefully reduce crime.
But there are obvious concerns about bias in the data or algorithms.
Huge concerns. It needs very careful implementation and oversight to avoid reinforcing existing biases. It's a complex area.
And for investigations after a crime. 3D imaging.
Yeah, 3D scanners creating incredibly detailed digital replicas of crime scenes before anything is disturbed. Detectives can then analyze that virtual scene later. It's replacing rough sketches with precise documentation. Think Faro laser scanners, more accurate evidence.
Okay, moving to something lighter. Analyzing whiskey with tech.
Yeah. Using highly precise chemical analysis, the technical name is GCX-GCTOFMS, but basically it creates a detailed molecular fingerprint of the whiskey.
Why? Just to know what's in it.
Well, distillers can use that fingerprint to perfectly replicate a specific flavor profile, or even design entirely new ones based on understanding the exact compounds. It moves whiskey making from just art and tradition towards data-driven craft. Think about protecting the recipe for a unique blend. Now you have its exact chemical signature.
That's wild. And AI composing music.
Yeah, AI using mathematical algorithms, much like composers have always used mathematical principles, but now the AI generates original royalty-free music. Companies like Amper, Baidu, Google's Magenta project, they're all doing it.
So new background music for videos, games.
Exactly. New avenues for content creation, licensing, changing the music industry landscape a bit.
Okay, this next one feels like a big leap. Brain-computer interfaces. BCIs.
Yeah, like Facebook's Building 8 project. The aim is, eventually, to let people communicate with computers just using their thoughts.
Just thinking. How?
Scanning the brain rapidly, maybe hundreds of times a second, translating those neural signals into text or commands. Still early days, but imagine the possibilities for interaction, accessibility.
Mind-blowing. And related to interfaces. Extended reality, XR.
Right. XR is the big umbrella term. It covers virtual reality, VR, fully simulated environments, usually with a headset. Augmented reality, AR, layering digital info onto your view of the real world. And mixed reality, MR, blending virtual objects into your physical space more interactively.
Businesses are using this for
all sorts of things. Training simulations, product design and visualization, virtual showrooms for retail, remote collaboration. It's creating totally new ways to experience things and operate.
And you mentioned X-Tech before. What does that cover?
It's kind of a catch-all for these powerful emerging technologies with big future impacts across many fields. Think fintech, biotech, space tech, agritech. Includes things like quantum computing, fully autonomous vehicles, advanced AI, tech that exists but hasn't hit its full stride yet, emphasizes their disruptive potential across industries. So for you listeners, these societal tech shifts, they change how you'll learn, how society functions, even creative expression. Understanding them and wrestling with the ethical questions they raise is really crucial for future leaders.
Definitely. Okay, let's move on to another critical area. The environment. Innovations, tackling climate change, energy. This is huge for businesses needing to operate sustainably.
Absolutely, and there's some cool stuff happening, like hot solar cells. MIT scientists developed a material, a photonic crystal, that captures more of the sun's energy as heat.
Captures heat. How does that help a solar cell?
It converts that heat into specific wavelengths of light that the solar cell can then process much more efficiently. So you get more electricity from the same amount of sunlight. Could make solar power cheaper, more effective.
And storing that energy when the sun isn't shining. Thermal energy storage, TES.
Right. Use solar power to heat up a storage medium, could be molten salt, rocks, whatever. Then later, you use that stored heat to generate steam, drive a turbine, and make electricity. It helps smooth out the supply from intermittent renewables like solar and wind. Crucial for grid stability.
Okay, what about dealing with the CO2 that's already out there? Carbon capture.
Several approaches. One is using ionic liquids, ILS. These are special salts that are really good at absorbing CO2, much better than older methods.
Better how?
They absorb more CO2, they're easier to store safely, and making them takes less energy. So it's potentially a much more efficient way for industries to capture their emissions. Better for costs, better for meeting regulations.
So that's capturing it at the source, like a factory. What about pulling it straight out of the air? Direct air capture, DA.
Yeah, that's the idea. Giant systems that filter huge amounts of air, using chemical scrubbers to pull out the CO2. Basically air purifiers for the planet. A whole new potential industry there.
Is pulling it from the oceans also an option?
It is. And potentially more efficient in some ways. CO2 is way more concentrated in seawater than in air, like 100 times more dense.
So you'd need to process less volume of water compared to air to get the same amount of CO2.
Exactly. Could be a more efficient removal pathway, though it has its own technical challenges, of course.
And can we actually do anything useful with captured CO2?
Some technologies are aiming for that. Photocatalysts, for instance. These are materials that use light energy, often high-energy UV light, to break the strong chemical bond in CO2.
Break it down into?
Potentially into useful building blocks for making fuels or materials, turning waste carbon into a resource. That's the dream of a circular carbon economy.
And just reducing emissions in the first place, like Airbus's zero-emission plane concepts.
Right. They've shown 3 designs, turbofan, turboprop, blended wing body, all aiming for hydrogen power. Huge R&D effort to decarbonize air travel. Massive challenge for that industry.
You also mentioned NG radar briefly.
Yeah.
Next-gen radar.
Yeah, using the Green Bank telescope linked with other radio telescopes. Advancements in how we observe the universe often spin off technologies or understanding relevant to environmental monitoring down the line. It's more foundational science.
Okay. So clearly, these environmental technologies are vital for sustainability. And for you business students, adapting to environmental pressures, innovating in this space, that's going to be key across energy, manufacturing, policy, everything.
Definitely. Okay, last big area. Let's get into the core science and computing advances. These are like the engines driving so many of the other things we've talked about.
Right, the foundational stuff, like quantum computing. That sounds incredibly complex.
It is, but the core idea is moving beyond simple bits, zeros, and ones. Quantum computers use qubits. Yeah. A qubit can be a 0, a 1, or both at the same time. That's called superposition.
Yeah.
And multiple qubits can be linked together entangled, so their states are connected no matter how far apart they are.
Both 0 and 1 simultaneously. How does that help?
It unlocks massive computational power for certain types of problems. Problems that are basically impossible for today's computers, like simulating complex molecules for drug discovery, designing new materials, or potentially breaking current encryption methods.
Breaking encryption. Okay, so huge potential, but also new security threats to consider.
Absolutely. It's a double-edged sword. Big breakthroughs coming in science, finance, materials, but also a race to develop quantum-resistant security.
And for storing data. Memristor memory.
Yeah, it's a different type of circuit element where the resistance changes. The cool thing is one memristor can do the job of many transistors. So you can potentially build storage that's much smaller and much faster than the flash storage we use now.
Smaller, faster storage.
Sure.
Always good. And supercomputers are getting even faster too. Exascale computers.
Right. Exascale just refers to a new level of speed capable of performing at least a billion calculations per second. It's about more powerful hardware leading to much faster processing for really complex simulations.
Like climate modeling or drug development simulations.
Exactly. Financial modeling, scientific research, any field needing massive number crunching benefits.
And neuromorphic computing. That sounds like building computer brains.
Kind of. It's inspired by the human brain structure, using artificial neurons and synapses to compute in a way that mimics how our brains work.
What's the advantage?
Potentially much more energy-efficient AI. Computers that can learn and adapt more like we do, maybe handle complex, messy real-world data better.
Empowering these supercomputers often relies on GPUs, right? Graphics processing units.
Hugely important. Developing GPUs powerful enough to handle the calculations needed for these massive machines, like the Aurora supercomputer, is critical. GPUs accelerate the parallel processing that's essential for AI training and scientific simulations.
Okay, shifting to software development. Low code and no code. What's that about?
It's about making it easier for people who aren't expert programmers to build applications or automate tasks, using visual tools, drag-and-drop interfaces, pre-built templates instead of writing lines of code.
So someone in marketing or finance could build a simple app they need without waiting for the IT department.
That's the idea. It democratizes development, speeds up innovation, lets people solve their own problems more easily.
And AI chatbots we touched on earlier, they're becoming more common everywhere.
Yeah, using AI and natural language processing to understand what you type or say and give automated responses. Trained on huge amounts of conversation data, so they're getting better and better at sounding natural. Customer service, infobots, they're everywhere.
But with AI creating text, how do you know if it was AI? AI detection tools.
Exactly. Tools like OpenAI's classifier or GPT-0 try to analyze text and figure out the probability that it was written by an AI, becoming important for things like academic honesty, fighting disinformation, verifying content authenticity.
Makes sense. And for cybersecurity, digital immune systems.
It's a newer concept, mimicking the human immune system, identifying threats, learning from attacks, adapting defenses automatically, trying to build more resilient and proactive security for networks and computers.
Okay, let's go really out there. 4G on the moon. Seriously.
Yep. NASA and Nokia are planning it for reliable communication over long distances on the lunar surface. Essential if you're planning a moon base for 2028, which NASA is. They even plan to upgrade to 5G later.
Wow. Lunar communication infrastructure. And exploring the moon with tiny robots, cube rovers.
Right. Shoebox-sized, lightweight robots from Astrobotic and Carnegie Mellon. They use wireless charging pads. Much cheaper and potentially more versatile than the big, expensive rovers. Addresses problems like moon dust, clogging things up, limited power, cost, makes exploration more accessible.
And bringing it back to Earth. Edge computing, how does that boost IoT and AI?
A lot of IoT devices and AI systems generate huge amounts of data that needs processing fast. Think of a self-driving car with hundreds of sensors and CPUs. Sending all that data to a distant cloud server introduces delays, latency.
So edge computing processes the data closer to where it's generated.
Exactly. On the device itself or on a nearby local server. Reduces latency. Improves real-time responsiveness. Crucial for things like autonomous vehicles, industrial automation, real-time analytics. Makes IoT and AI systems more robust and faster.
And finally, wearable AIs, replacing smartphones.
That's vision. Devices like Humane's A-Pin. You pin it to your clothes, operate it mainly by voice. It can make calls, send text, translate languages, take photos, run apps, all without needing a screen in your hand.
A truly pervasive AI companion. That's a different way of interacting with tech entirely.
It really is. So you see, for business students, understanding these core computing and science advances is fundamental. They're the bedrock upon which almost everything else is built. Knowing this stuff gives you a huge advantage in seeing where things are going.
Woo! Okay, that was a lot. And that brings us pretty much to the end of this deep dive into emerging technologies for 2025. Thanks so much for joining us on this pretty wild exploration.
It really is an exciting and maybe slightly daunting time to be looking ahead, especially for those of you starting your careers. So much change, so much opportunity.
Absolutely. So here's a question for you listeners, especially you future business professionals, maybe thinking about your time at Dr. Sampak College of Business. Which of these emerging technologies we talked about today do you think will hit your chosen field the hardest or maybe the soonest? And what are the big strategic opportunities or maybe the challenges that come with it being widely adopted?
Yeah, we'd genuinely love to hear your perspectives on that. Drop your thoughts in the comments.
Please do. And of course, remember to like, subscribe, follow, share this deep dive if you found it useful, and comment to keep the conversation going. Stay informed about the future of MIS.